Hello, my name is Sasha Struthers. I'm a landlord attorney here in Los Angeles, and I'm doing a video today on what a landlord should do in the event that a tenant dies. Before I go into that, you should subscribe to this channel, and you should go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter because they're both free and informative and designed to be helpful to you. To begin, when a tenant dies, either you know because the body is discovered in the unit, or you get notification, usually from a family member and executor of that individual's estate, that the person is deceased. The lease doesn't automatically terminate though. If it is a long-term lease or a fixed-term lease and that's still ongoing, then the lease hasn't terminated and the estate is responsible for the remainder of the lease. Now you will often have to negotiate or work with them if they want, because the estate's probably not going to want to keep paying rent on a unit that no one's going to be living in. So you would negotiate that usually with the executor of the estate. Also, you have to make sure that there's no other occupants in the unit. If there's other occupants in the unit, they might have claim to that unit and doesn't necessarily terminate the lease or their right to live there. So that can get tricky. If you don't get contacted, or you do get contacted by the estate and the lease is month to month, then the lease would terminate 30 days after the last payment was received for that unit. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have possession, it just means the lease is over. Then the next thing you gotta deal with is the belongings. Now, if there's animals in the unit, you should call animal control. As for the stuff, that can get a little tricky. Usually an executive estate will come to you and you need to get proof that they've been appointed the executor of the estate by the court. And then you would work with them to get the stuff removed from the premises and into their possession. Sometimes that looks like negotiating. If they're like out of state, you'll negotiate having someone come, inventory, collect, and then move the items to to a storage facility and then sending the key to the executor. That's one way that typically gets done. But you want to, you'll be talking to the executor, and if they don't want to do that or they can't get the stuff out, then they need to continue to pay rent on the unit or some form of storage fee for you keeping the possessions. Now, if no one comes forward and you find out this tenant is deceased, you would send what's called a notice of belief of abandonment, which is a template notice that's outlined in the statute. And I have one of them on my website. I have that notice in the free landlord forms. And you would send that to the last known address of the decedent, which would likely be this apartment or this house, wherever they die, this unit. And after 14 days, or I would say 19 because you're gonna mail it. So in it, it's 18, be safe, 19 days after mailing it. If no one comes forward, there's no executor of the state, then you would treat it like you would treat any other abandoned property. If you think it's reasonably worth less than $700, you could throw it out. If you think it's worth more than that, then you would take it to public auction. And you can deduct from the public auction proceeds your cost of storage, and the rest of the money you got to send to the county. So that's what you do with the belongings in that sense. Then there's the question of security deposit. So the security deposit, you treat it the same as you would treat any other security deposit. You deduct your costs and itemize it and keep a hold of that. You might want to keep a hold of it for a while if no one comes forward, and just have an accounting of it for the day that some executor, some family member comes forward, next of kin. Or if there is an executor, then you would, if there's any money owed to you, the landlord, then you would submit a claim to the probate. If there's any money left over in favor of the decedent's estate, then you give a check to the decedent's estate to account for that. And the last thing that is important is disclosure. So if the tenant died in the unit, you have to notify any applicants for the next 3 years that someone died in the unit, and you have to disclose the cause of death, if you know it, to any applicants, anyone who comes and views the unit. Additionally, however, if the tenant died of HIV or AIDS, you don't have to disclose that. And that is pretty much a broad overview of what you should do when a tenant has passed away and you've learned of it. Sometimes they're found in the unit, sometimes they are found somewhere else. There's a blog that also goes with this video that has a little bit more in it. If you want to read that, I'll link it below. Again, feel free to subscribe to this channel and subscribe to my newsletter. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And thank you.